Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. This is the second in our series on top games to recommend for Christmas. As we're getting closer to it, before you blink, it'll be happening. We have opportunity to talk about Avid games for avid gamers. These are gamers that are not necessarily in the casual realm anymore, that have understood and embraced modern board gaming and are familiar with a lot of the top 100 games that are out there and are looking for some ideas for recent games that may be good for Christmas presents or to play on their own on Christmas Day. A lot of these I try to get myself to make sure that they're available to people and not completely so that I'm not recommending games that no one could find anyway. And most of these fall in that category. Some are a little harder to find than others, but in general it should be doable to find them. I also, and again, I also want to make sure this list is for people that are familiar with board games, that don't mind a little bit of complexity, but don't necessarily dive into the wargaming or deep economic or Eurogaming kind of phenomenon. So with that, let's get to what we're going to talk about. Before that, though, we're going to talk about the years gone by. I went back and did sort of a retro of the last few years of recommendations that I've done for Christmas, and other than 2021, which is a year we will not talk about, it wasn't a good one, I went back to see how I would feel about the games I recommended from all those years, and so you get the benefit by looking. It's anything in blue are ones that I think still hold really well as recommendations that haven't, some of them have been duplicated. Dune Imperium, for example, there's quite a few here that I think hold on. Some of them have gone down a little bit, where I might not necessarily, they're either of them games that have exceeded them in such a way that I would recommend those instead, or ones that just simply, they had their season, I enjoyed them, I recommended them, but now I don't know that I would find them in as high of awe as I did before. None of these games are bad. They were obviously recommended for a reason. But yeah, in general, I think I did pretty well at this. Probably not as good as I did with casual games as far as just nailing the games that perennially, the evergreen games that keep on going. But yeah, of these, I think I would still recommend all the ones in blue, and the ones in white are still worth looking at some point. But yeah, let's move on. First off, we have Endeavor Deep Sea. Endeavor Deep Sea is a riff on the original Endeavor, which had its roots in like colonial times of building up trade routes and stuff. It had a little bit of a economic exploration kind of vibe to it. Deep Sea pretty much moves away from that entirely. Instead, you're really diving into the deep sea. The changes that have been made in the game flow have been all for the positive. The general mood of the game is as pleasant as the gameplay itself is, and so Endeavor Deep Sea is a recommendation if you can find it. I think you're going to get a lot of fun out. Solo play, 2 players, 3 players, works great in all those regards. Vantage is a game that kind of took us by storm a few months ago in its sort of leisurely go explore this incredibly deep and detailed, decades in the making world. It has very slushy win conditions. They're basically, you win some, you lose some, keep going kind of thing. So what you're doing is you're playing it over and over to learn more about the world around, and the world around is so evocative that you don't mind. I generally hate slushy win conditions or whatever. I want to know that I want the mileposts that tell me how far I am in the journey. In this one, you play, and sometimes your experiences are going to be super great, and sometimes your experiences are going to be short and sweet, but each one of them has been so vivid in recollection. They built the world, and then they built really interesting people, places, and things in that world, and I find it to be a much improved choose your own adventure for the moment kind of game. So Vantage, if you get a chance, I think you may enjoy the what it brings to the table. Then we have Kingdom Legacy, and you won't hear about this a lot. This is a one-player game, so if you're buying this, you're either buying it for someone else or you're buying it to play by yourself. Kingdom Legacy is a small box. It's the size of maybe 2 decks of cards. It's a size I could fit it in the palm of my hand. When I first heard the premise that it took 8 to 10 hours, I laughed. Like, it fits in the palm of my hand. What could take 8 or 10 hours in the palm of my hand? And the reality is, it does it right. It takes each card that you have. You start with 10 cards, and those cards have multi-facets, multi-sides, and multi-directions. And so really each card is about 4 different opportunities to go a certain way, economically or from the storyline. For example, some of the first cards are going to be cards that give you resources. So think building up, you got gold, you got wood, you got stone, and you build, and then you have cost. The cost on a card to you convert it just means sometimes you'll just flip it upside down, and then the upside down picture now becomes an ability or whatever. So when you say it has 10 cards to start with, it's really 40 different opportunities, some of which you'll take and some not. And here's the kicker: once you cycle through those 10 cards, you add 2 more cards, and then you cycle through those 12 cards. Then you add 2 and you cycle through those 14 cards. So suddenly it's not like you're going through and going, I went through those 10 cards, now I'm going to take another batch of 10 cards. No. It's not exponential, but it's definitely accumulatory. And then, of course, if you've got 100 cards, but you have to start with 10 and add 2 each time, and you have to iterate over 60, 70 times, that's overkill, isn't it? But still, then you get an 8 to 10 hour game. Now, the thing I don't like about it is that it's legacy, which means they expect you to tear up cards, put stickers on the cards and whatever, and just buy another copy if you want to play it again. I ended up buying 3 copies, one for Arizona, one for up here, and then one to throw away, because once I play through the game, there's been a lot of tips on how I can repurpose the other games to just have little sleeves and just put the stickers on the sleeves or whatever. But really immersive, and it's not simply just gather resources and build your legacy. There's a lot of crazy decisions you make on those cards, because you can upgrade them one way or another way, and based on how you upgrade a card in different ways, you've permanently done that. You've gone down a path with that card, which gives a bonus, but also might be a drawback in other ways. So that is a clever thing. So good job, guys. Then we have Creature Caravan. It's a lesser known Ryan Lockett game that is a race. You are racing from one end of a board to the other. Along the way, you have unique creatures that are going to aid you. You have a hand of cards, and you play those cards to help move your unit over from your caravan, from right to left in this case. And you're going to traverse different terrain types, and those terrains are going to have like monsters in them, or resources, or ways to move and manipulate across the board in ways you couldn't because of all these cards. Each card is unique, and each of these creatures is really visually described with a unique little flavor. We were blown away at how much we enjoyed this game for just flat out pleasantness. It brings nothing innovative per se, but it's just pleasant, and having different creatures every time and different synergies, it does get, you do want to steer towards certain synergies over others as you play through the card deck, but and if the game ends, you don't necessarily win the minute you cross the finish line. You get an advantage, but there's other ways to score points to win too, and so everyone kind of has a chance in the running. So so Creature Caravan. Then we have a game that probably not very many people have heard of, called Tamashii. Tamashii is it's a cyber kind of, you're in a cyber world, cyberpunk, think of that, cyberpunk kind of world. And in that world, what you are doing is basically running away from the enemy, the unsung enemy here, like bots and entities that are hunting you, and you're trying to go from location to location and complete objectives. What makes this game cool is A, the variety of objectives and campaigns, and 2, the way that you handle things by movement. You have a grid of movement options, or grid of options, not movement per se, a move of options, and you're playing kind of a Tetris game, think of a Tetris or a pattern matching game that really makes it so instead of saying, okay, my ability in this regard is 4, so I'm going to roll some dice, and if I'm over the threshold, well, I succeeded. If I didn't, I didn't. No, here you're matching patterns, and you're matching these patterns, and these patterns are going to fuel different elements of the rest of your turn on how you attack. If something attacks you and they're attached to you, you're going to have to use your powers to power up cards or power up other things in this grid, and you exhaust elements in the grid, and then the next turn you're going to get another batch of pull some more chips out of the bag, and you're going to build another set of like, okay, I can do this and that. Really clever and compelling. I really like when people take combat and make it more than just like roll for this threshold, which I think is, at this point, I'm done with games that just go roll for threshold, or here you just leveled up, now your threshold is one higher, kind of thing. I like games that really say, how can we make it interesting to contend and combat with things? So points on that. So Tamashi. Then we have River of Gold, another game I blew off a couple of years ago because it looked kind of it doesn't. I mean, the river's gold, but it doesn't even look that interesting to me. It's just like a gold river, and I see some stuff and whatever. Then I actually got it somehow from recommendation, and oh my lord, I have played so many games of River of Gold. River of Gold really does take you on a smooth, very simple, your economic building path. You have two ships, you go down the river in these ships. Where you land, you get the bonuses from. You also build your own places so that when you land on those places, you get a benefit and an extra benefit. Or if your opponents land on those spaces, they get benefits and you get benefits. And everyone's benefiting. And then you've got certain cards of people that want to be fulfilled with the 3 basic resources. And so you go and you deliver at a certain location, and that location will let that delivery to that person it'll ignite something. You'll get an extra bonus. Maybe you'll get a 2x bonus here. Maybe you'll get a ship that gives you a little more power, more opportunities there. And then you'll have other objectives like, well, if you find all the merchants, and if you can deliver to all 6 merchants, you get this extra bonus. And then each of the 6 segments of the river, you can add influence there. And if you're more than your opponent, you're going to get a certain point value. If not, you'll get. If you're within range, you might get a secondary point value, but all of it's just pleasant. You're just doing a pleasant job going down there. I have played so many games of this, and I really like it every time. It's just refreshing enough every time. Yes, it is, there isn't any grand, massive change in what you do, but making the most of the opportunities, well worthy. Then we have the Anarchy. As far as roll and writes go, I'm starting to warm up to them, and one of the big reasons is they draft and write records, and the other reason is the Anarchy. Fresh on the heels of Hadrian's Wall, the Anarchy does something I like, which is give you a bazillion options, give you some risk and reward of those options. And again, this is like space shuttle console looking. You don't want it. This is not a simple, easy roll and write. You also have a city building aspect where for a particular round, generally good information. You have generally good recon about where your enemies are going to attack you from in this game, and it's thematically based on you attack castles of your enemy, and your enemy is going to be coming at you every turn in certain ways, and you're going to get part of the information about what they're going to do, but not all of it, and that is sufficient. That means you can prepare for what you know is going to happen, and then bolster up where you think things could happen on this. And it feels like Rampart. You're literally building your city walls. You get that tangible, visceral feel that generally roll and writes don't. Roll and writes often ask you to be abstract, like, oh, build this city. Well, the city is just an L with 4 boxes, or a 1 block or whatever. Whereas Anarchy says, no, you're gonna flip this, flip that. It's gonna open up this opportunity. You're gonna spend these resources and open that up. You're gonna discover this technology, which is gonna let you build this, which is then gonna let you use that and deploy that in a way that's gonna prepare you for what you know is going to be coming down the pike, for the type of attack that's going to happen. Very complicated, but very, very satisfying. And I actually got a large board to put sheets on to be able to play this game. Really, really well done. And then Baseball Highlights 2045 has had a deluxe edition, the Basis Loaded edition that's come out. I've always been a fan of Baseball Highlights 2045 because it does exactly what it says. It's the least false advertising I've ever seen. You have baseball highlights. You don't go through inning by inning. You don't simulate anything, which turns some people off that are like, I want a baseball sim. I want to know every the statistics. Don't worry about the math. It's not about the math. It's about the moments. And you will be gathering and building a team of futuristic robots, cyborgs, and flesh vessels, humans. And they will go at it, and each of those different archetypes have a different specialty they excel in. You're going to draft players each game, and those players are going to boost your base team. You're going to get rid of some players, and you're going to down to the minors, and you're going to build out your outfit. And then you're going to play a game back and forth. The games take about 5 to 10 minutes each to run it, sometimes even less. If you go into overtime, sometimes more. But you're going to always feel satisfied. It really does say, what are the highlights of the experience of playing baseball, and let's just focus on them. Perfect. So recommendations for that. And Wondrous Creatures is a delightful, pleasant. Again, there's a lot of delight this year, a lot of delightful things going on. Wondrous Creatures has it's a placement, worker placement. Although some of the workers are double sized, and so where you place them and how you place them does have a greater impact than just here's a meeple, put it here. And you're going to collect resources. You're going to build. Last year, I think I enjoyed Arborea, which was a similar kind of idea, which is you have this beautiful, colorful world, and things just triggered based on where you put units, and timing was important, and then you'd have these wonderful ways to just open up more of the board. Wondrous Creatures is very similar in that regard, and the delightful, pleasant creature-like aspect really shines for it. It's got some additional expansion packs as well, but the base game is more than sufficient and more than an elegant gameplay system. And finally, Lightning Train came in right towards the end of this year. Lightning Train needs. I honestly feel like you need to play a game rather than read up on the game to really get the game. But when you do, you're going to realize that a lot of from the directors of this movie, from the author of Dune Imperium and Clank, this game has a similar kind of way where it takes constituent components of games and puts them together in a very elegant way. You've got your train tracks all across America. You've got the opportunity to lay tracks, but laying tracks is not the primary. It's not like Ticket to Ride. Yeah, that can be a misnomer where you're like, oh, I bid this track, I get these points, I get these. You do build and get the points, but you're also going to get points for a lot of other things you do. You're going to get credit for a lot of things. You're going to build through tunnels. You're going to be delivering goods, and those goods will change every time you play the game. You're going to buy tokens, and you're going to pull tokens from a bag, and then you're going to have to use the tokens that you've got. So you're taking a kind of a bag building aspect. It's putting a bunch of pieces in place to make a game that once you've gone through it once, it'll click with you, and then you will be, if you're anything like me, very satisfied with the game. Yeah, highly recommended. So anyway, that's that. What a time to be alive. Now we'll move on to the next list, but hope you guys have some ideas. Please share some ideas on games you think would be a great Christmas gift for yourself or someone else. So what a time to be alive. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.